In this devotional, I'm going to share with you 3 thoughts from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 16 through 22, where I'll answer the question, why should I celebrate work? Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 16 through 22 says, Moreover, I saw under the sun that in the place of justice, even there was wickedness, and in the place of righteousness, even there was wickedness. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every matter and for every work. I said in my heart with regard to the children of man, that God is testing them, that they may see that they themselves are but beasts. For what happens to the children of man and what happens to the beasts is the same. As one dies, so dies the other. They all have the same breath, and man has no advantage over the beasts. For all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and to dust all return. Who knows whether the spirit of man goes upwards and the spirit of the beast goes down into the earth? So I saw that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his work, for that is his lot. Who can bring him to see what will be after him? Solomon, in the book of Ecclesiastes, goes through what you might call a pessimistic period, where while he's discussing the nature of man and what man is supposed to do with his years here on earth, he is questioning what happens. Those universal questions that we all ask here and there. What happens when I die? Is there any meaning to what's going on? How can I relate to the world around me in a way that is meaningful? Solomon is wrestling with all of these things. And as he does so, he comes to recognize that ultimately mankind has a job given to him by his Creator, and that any fulfillment that you might have comes from working towards the accomplishment of that task. Here are 3 thoughts from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 16 through 22 on why I should celebrate work. Thought number 1. God will judge all. You should celebrate your work because you can trust that God ultimately is going to reconcile any wickedness that exists in the world. As we look around our various cultures, we notice that injustice is a universal. It happens everywhere. There is no place that has achieved perfect justice, and none of us are okay with that. Everybody recognizes injustice as a fundamental problem within the world. Well, Solomon realized this, and he tried to reconcile this idea of righteousness and wickedness together, only to ultimately say that God is the ultimate judge, and because he's the ultimate judge, you can trust that any work that you are doing is something that can be celebrated. Thought number 2, all men die. And here we're getting kind of bleak. We recognize that everybody dies, that nobody gets a pass, that the game ends at a certain point. And Solomon is trying to deal with that issue. And he discusses and brings about this point that just like every animal that you ever see is going to die and go back into the ground, so too will every person die and go back into the ground. We don't necessarily have too much of a problem reconciling that fact with our animal buddies running around. But when we think about the fact that we also are going to die and our bodies will become dust, we don't like that. So what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do in life if ultimately I am but dust and am returning to the ground? Is there anything that I should do in this world? Solomon's answer is that you should work and find joy in it. Thought number 3, what else will you do? Well, and this part is really just honest. What else are you going to do with yourself besides do some work? Is there anything else worth celebrating besides the work that you're able to put your hand to, the accomplishment of the purposes that God has set before you? Is there anything more to celebrate than that? Now, when you're talking about work, I'm not just talking about your vocational job. I'm talking about the work that it takes to develop your family, the work that it takes to be kind to your neighbor, the work that it takes in doing all of the things that God has commanded. That is all of the work that we should celebrate and we should enjoy. Because if we're not doing that, the other option is nihilism, where you don't believe that anything is significant and nothing is important, that there's nothing worth celebrating. And that, my friends, is a dead end. These three thoughts come from the assigned reading of Ecclesiastes chapters 3 and 4. If you'd like to read through the Bible with me, you can do so by joining the Facebook group Through the Bible, where we are reading the text of Scripture together.